We're not waiting for opportunity, we create an opportunity. We're not waiting for opportunity, we create an opportunity. What's your relationships like? What's the relationships you are currently in? If that's romantic, business, friendship, acquaintance, mother, father, brother, sister, what are your relationships like right now in your life? How do your relationships affect you in your life? Where are your relationships bringing you in your life? What has past relationships you've been in done for you now? Have they taught you lessons? Have they grown you into ways through experiences that you never thought you would see now? Or you're happy for? Or you're still dreadfully traumatized by? For me, relationships were, as I finally realized, very important. Growing up with a single parent, and also seeing that single parent response to relationships and the other parent who wasn't living in the household, and our responses to one another, and learning them over the years, the responses they received through their relationships that was passed along with, one's thoughts, attitudes, goals, wants, behaviors, things of that nature. And then also me meeting people and knowing people from different things that I've been through in my life and the different relationships I had with them or with others because of certain things, or how that relationship affected what I actually went through, and how that relationship bettered what I went through or made it worse. When I think about relationships, for me, I think about how now I'm in a healthy relationship, for example, with my wife and children. And I think about the synergy. And I think about how I don't expect anything any longer. I don't expect someone to be a certain way. I don't expect the person to do a certain thing, especially if they don't know. In relationships, there's supposed to be a communication process there. There's also a learning curve there, because no one can read anyone's mind and no one knows everything about one particular person, because anyone can change at any given time. So there's a learning curve there, hence the communication for not having misinterpretation or expectations because of who you are, what you've been through, how you would respond or react compared to another. So I say that to say this, right? A lot of times in relationships, I'm gonna use it in a group. So you could be in a group, you and a group of people have the same understanding, culture, response, reactions to situations, do's and don'ts. Then you see another particular person do something and you guys cut that person off or don't deal with that person or won't speak to that person, or like, hey, that's not the person we kick it with. That's not how we do what we do. And maybe just write the person all off together. I say it like this because everybody's perspective is different. That person's response to a situation or reason for it comes from somewhere totally different than yours. And the response that you give, they may give in another situation. They may look at you as you're out of line and out of character, or something's off with you. But because of what we're used to, or what we have ourselves around in the environment, and our perspective and the expectations, we sometimes shut people out that could actually may not work in this situation for us, but actually could work in this situation for us. Like, you may not be the person you take to an opera, or may not be a person you talk to about politics, but maybe the person you take to the pool hall who's going to be your pool partner, or go bowling with, or the person you watch basketball with, or the person who likes to talk about poetry or something like that instead of politics. Just because one thing that you guys don't meet on doesn't mean that's the end of a possible relationship, acquaintance, or someone who knows something you don't particularly know. Now you've written that person off because a certain attribute or morale or value, whatever you want to call it at that moment in time, I'm going to call it a conditioning that you've come up with that won't allow you to go further. Or you just don't have the mental strength for it. Because in relationships, you have to speak to one another in order for it to grow. And you have to be listening. You can't be hearing to respond and holding on to your question that you want to ask. You have to be listening to the response you're receiving so you can take it in to see where it's coming from. Because if one of you or both of you are just ready to always respond, no one's learning anything. There's no way you can build synergy. For those who don't know what synergy is a way, how I like to say it without the regular meaning is, everyone gets to bring their 100% to the table. And everyone gets to use their 100% at the table. No one loses. Right? Because each one understands each person and how this can work and orchestrate around for it to grow. So no one has to cut off 50% of theirs or cut off 50% of theirs. They can bring all theirs to the table and they understand each other in order how to work together. Like relationship. I speak on relationship because I feel the first relationships we have an issue with is with ourselves. And I'll give you an example. We'll have goals that we want to get to, that we want to do. But our habits and behaviors don't match up to those goals, or don't work with those goals, or those goals don't work with that behavior. The goal may mean you have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Your habit and behavior is not getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it doesn't work. So you're not willing to adjust or adapt your behavior towards your goal. And you write the goal off. Or you look at yourself as weak. Instead of you just looking at the goal and seeing what you need to do for the goal, and looking at your behavior and your habits and see what you need to adjust. Maybe it's only for 3 or 6 months you got to get up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning to take care of some extras that you got to do throughout the day to get this goal that you want to get. It's not a lifetime. Or maybe after that 3 or 6 months, you might get used to it so much that you will get up that early. Right? That's sacrifice. Or you could be like, hey, goal, I need to have this rest. I'm not productive at this time. I try to be productive, but I'm tired. My body's tense. I'm just not in the mind frame. So the goal is like, okay, well, what else can we find during the time? Because we need to get this particular part of this done for you to get closer to me. So can we do this, cut down the weekend? Can we do this, you product better at evening? Can we do this from 7 to 9 and just be focused on that? And you sit there and you go back and forth and you figure it out. You bring them together so it can work hand in hand. Either you have one adapt for the moment for the overall goal, or you have the goal adapt to the habit, again, for the overall thing that you want. But you guys are working towards the same thing, the same vision. And that's where I feel people lose out, because until you start working with yourself as a relationship, you'll never grow. You hear it all the time. If you look at someone who was in the same stages of their relationship when they first met, 10 years later, they haven't grown. And they probably didn't make it. Or they're probably together because they had a child or something. Something else is there. It's not because of their relationship. But you hear about the people who go through the ups, the downs, the financial struggle, the arguments, the disagreements. And you're like, they're together 10, 15 years later, and you ask them, how are you guys doing? You guys look so happy. And they say it takes work. It takes hard work. It takes dedication. It takes commitment, right? It takes commitment. You can't just do it. You got to be committed to it so you can be consistent at it, and then you'll do it. Because you could do it once, but you got to do this every day. That's consistency. That's commitment. So when you're committed to your relationship, you will work at it. You will go through the storms. You would weather the storms. You will speak with the person. You will have these different things that you will take more responsibility for, even when it's not your responsibility, because you need to hold that for that person. And that's what you need to do with yourself. If you're the same thought process and you're in the same relationship you were with yourself 10 years ago, you haven't grown right now. Your thought process hasn't grown. I don't care where you sitting at. I don't care if you were sitting in school back then, you got a job now. If you're still in the same relationship with yourself when you were sitting in school, and you haven't talked to yourself, you haven't developed things about yourself, you haven't had issues with yourself and broke through these things and created different avenues for yourself to understand yourself, to love yourself, to like yourself, to strengthen yourself, you're having those same behaviors as a school kid, as a working person. And that's why you're hitting the same wall over and over. Because nobody would tell you to stay in a relationship with somebody that's not working. I knew it for years that I was with guys I used to run with. I used to run with these guys, right? And nothing was happening. And when I stopped running with them, things changed. My mind state changed. It didn't change, but the real me started coming out because I dealt with me. It reminded me like when I was a kid and I was on my own, running around as like a child, and how I didn't have it all, but my confidence was just there. And then when I moved somewhere else and I met all these people and a whole bunch of other things became a part of it, it took away me just dealing with myself and just being me. It was like it was a group of us. There's nothing wrong with, but you got to make sure hone in on yourself. And it took away from a lot. It took a lot away from me at times because I was thinking about the others or agreeing with the group, because obviously this is supposed to be me. And I didn't realize at the moment that that wasn't me fully, right? Or some parts of it wasn't me. And then when I got away from these people, not in a negative way, just, moving along and doing me, and I was in a position where it was just me, that confidence started to come back stronger. That mind frame started to come back stronger. What I thought of myself was stronger. How I got to certain positions in life of things that I needed to get to, regardless of what I've been through in my past, was stronger. Because I was willing to deal with myself as a relationship-wise and handle myself with care and tell myself what I needed to hear and change up and discipline myself when needed. And then also making the right relationships with people for particular different things. So somebody may not fit in this box for this, but they fit in this box for that, and we cool with that, and we deal with each other with that. That's how we get down, and we're strong at that, right? But I don't just write them off, because I always realize there's always something I could do for someone, and there's always something they can do for me. People say, there's nothing a bum can tell me, right? There's nothing a homeless person can tell me. Oh, yes, there is. To me, a homeless person can tell me what they did to become homeless, so I know how to stay away from that. Or I can see the scenarios coming around if it's similar. Information that I never knew how this person became homeless, right? So, but I got to start with myself. I got to deal with myself. I got to talk with myself. I got to make sure I'm not having the same relationship with myself that I had before. So that means you need time for yourself, right? Just like when you're in a relationship, they say, hey, man, you guys need to go on a date or go watch a movie or go have a cup of coffee or go for a walk on the beach, because no one else is around. No kids, no friends, no family, just you and that person. You guys is just you and your thoughts with you. No interruptions. Same way you need to be with yourself. Treat yourself. Be with yourself. Give yourself those thoughts. Follow through with those thoughts. Discuss that with yourself. Write it down. Gotta have a good relationship with yourself. Gotta trust the relationship you have with yourself. And you have to make sure that you're growing in the relationship, because if you're not, then you need to change some things about yourself. Right? Or you need to grow some things about yourself. You need to let some things go. Because you see relationships, sometimes this one person is getting so far ahead and this person is holding them down. It's not because the person is trying to hold them down. It's because this person had let go of things when they were down here with them so they can go up. And this person's still holding on to that. And this person's holding on to this person. So this person has to let that go because you're holding on to things that I don't want no more, that I'm not a part of. It's different and that's how some relationships break up, because I'm going for this, you're going for that. There's nothing wrong with that. Yo, respect. I see you up there. I see you on the flyby, man. Memories always be there. You know, it's how we perceive it. Stop having these expectations, because that's when you go down for a downfall. You know, until the experience hits you and you realize, oh, I expected that, and that's not what happened. You know, and that's the worst thing with relationships too. All these expectations, you start looking down on yourself. Well, I don't measure up to this. I don't measure up to that. I don't look like this. I don't look like that. I don't have this in my bank account. I don't have these grades. I don't have this house. I don't have this, and all these things you measure yourself up to, and you get nowhere. Because you have these expectations compared to having this true self-worth and self-value of yourself and a great relationship with yourself. That's why you see some people when you say, oh, they don't have it all, and they're the happiest couple. Because they're worried about them and what they are with each other, their support system. I got your back, you got mine. I'm your rider, you mine. But are you your own rider is my question. Are you only your own rider when you're bait to be your own rider? When somebody baits you? Are you only putting yourself as an image of how everyone is portraying you should be? Because you fit this look? What is your look? Who are you? I'm just saying, man. You have to really take a look at the relationship you have with yourself and the relationship you have with others. But before you look at the relationship you have with others and seeing that if that relationship is growing you and you have everybody in the right place they need to be, or some people are just, you need to let go of that because it's keeping something within you that you no longer need. And if you can even tell them that and they're willing to let that go and y'all roll together, that's even better. Or you need to deal with yourself with all of that first, though. Because you can't point at no one else. It's you. You with you all day. You with you all day. That's forever, ever. Forever, ever, 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 ever. That's you and you. You know what I mean? So take a chance and look at your relationship with yourself. Take a look at it. How are you handling the truth of your habits and your behaviors? With your goals and your processes? With your visions and your dreams? You know? With your thoughts? How are these coinciding together? You know, what's causing the issue? Start with that. What's your visions you have? And why you can't get there? And is anything to do with your behavior and your habits that you have? And how you need to adjust them to help that vision, or how you need to get the vision to understand your habits so you can figure that how to get the right visions in process. Get together with yourself, man. You know? We're not waiting for opportunity. We create an opportunity. We're not waiting for opportunity. We create an opportunity.